This is a little ecology video for all you visual and auditory learners out there. Ecology is a huge branch of biology that deals with the relationships of organisms, whether it be between them and another organism or them and their environment. Now, the relationships of organisms can be affected by different factors in the environment, and those factors can either be living or biotic, or non-living, also known as abiotic. Now I'm going to hand things over to my good friend Claudia to tell you more about biotic and abiotic factors.
In this environment, an example of an abiotic factor is the sun. Other abiotic factors include water, temperature, and the amount of sunlight, which is kind of difficult to show in this diagram. A biotic factor would be the grass. Other biotic factors include trees and animals, such as this nice blue rhino.
There are many levels of ecology, and you can remember them by using the word APBio. Biosphere, biome, ecosystem, community, population, and organism. A biosphere is the largest level of ecology, and it is the part of the Earth and its atmosphere that contains life. A biome is the second largest level of ecology, and it is a region that contains unique characteristics. Now, one biome is the tundra where it's like really cold and there's penguins, but it's barren, so things don't really live there besides the penguins. And then there's the grasslands, which are like big flat places with grass. And then there's the alpine, where there's like lots of mountains and it's really cold, but there's no penguins, there's snow leopards, which are like big fuzzy cats. And then there's the tropical rainforest, where it's like really hot and humid and people with curly hair, like their hair just goes. But life in rainforest is like really diverse since it's like so warm and there's just so much nutrients, like the big trees. And then there's other ones like the savanna, the desert, the scrub, the deciduous forest. You get it. There's a lot of different places. The next level of ecology are ecosystems, which are all the living and non-living factors in an environment. Next are the communities, which are all the living organisms in one area at the same time. And then there's population, which is all the organisms of the same species living in the same environment at the same time. And lastly, the smallest level of ecology are organisms, which are just organisms, singular living things. Like this nice Homo sapiens shown here.
Relationships between different organisms are known as symbiotic relationships. Symbiosis actually means living together. It explains how different species coexist together or how they don't. Commensalism is a type of symbiotic relationship where one organism benefits but the other is not affected. Mutualism is a type of symbiotic relationships where two organisms coexist with each other but one doesn't affect the other. An example of neutralism would be between the blue rhinoceros and the snake. The rhinoceros cannot eat the snake, and the snake doesn't try to attack the rhinoceros either. So they coexist peacefully without either of them having an effect on each other. Another type of symbiotic relationships is called mutualism. In this type of symbiotic relationships, both organisms benefit from their interactions. Going back to the diagram, an example of mutualism would be between the blue rhinoceros and the bird. The bird eats the mites off of the rhinoceros's back, and the rhinoceros benefits from this because now he doesn't have mites and his skin won't get itchy or infected. And the bird gets food! Parasitism is when an organism feeds off another, meaning one benefits while the other is harmed. The next symbiotic relationship is the predator-prey relationship. A predator is an organism that gets its nutrients by killing other organisms. Prey are organisms that get killed and eaten by other organisms, also known as predators. So, predator-prey relationships are relationships in which one organism, the prey, gets eaten by another, the predator. An example of this relationship from our diagram would be between the dinosaur and the blue rhinoceros. The dinosaur eats the blue rhinoceros for nutrients, while the blue rhinoceros gets preyed on by the dinosaur.
Energy is transferred through the environment by means of predator-prey relationships. There are 3 main levels of energy transfer in an environment. Technically 4, including the energy source, which in most cases is the sun. The first real level would be producers. Producers are pretty much plants that take the sun's energy and they convert it into other energy that they use and are also consumed by the next energy level. Next are consumers. Consumers eat the producers in order to gain their energy. And lastly are the decomposers, which decompose all dead organisms in an environment. Now, in an ecosystem, there are usually more than one level of consumers. There are primary, secondary, tertiary, quaternary, and so on. Now, it's important to keep in mind that only 10% of the energy is transferred from level to level. So producers start off with 100% of their energy. When primary consumers eat the producers, they get 10% of the energy that the producers had. So when secondary consumers eat the primary consumers, they only have 1% of the energy that was started with. To wrap things up, the energy source provides energy to the producers, which provide energy to the primary consumers, which provide more energy to the secondary consumers. Everything that consumes energy in this environment will eventually be decomposed by the decomposers. Ecosystems usually maintain this homeostasis unless there is an invasive species.
An invasive species is basically a species that has been brought to a new environment from its old one. Invasive species are very dangerous because they have no natural predators in their new environment. Therefore, they take over any new environment that they are introduced to.
Now, you may have noticed this butterfly's very extreme coloration. That is because it is poisonous.
In this diagram, an example of an invasive species would be the giant butterfly. The ecosystem's most dangerous predator, the pink bird, cannot even escape the wrath of the giant butterfly. Neither can this innocent dog. Since the giant butterfly has no natural predators in this environment, and an unlimited amount of resources, they can reproduce and multiply in number.
This organism's extreme coloration warns other organisms of its poison and danger, so they should stay away. Now, let's assume that the giant butterfly was in its natural ecosystem. Then, its natural predator, the giant blue butterfly, would be able to attack and kill it. The giant blue butterfly is an example of a different kind of coloration. This is known as camouflage. The giant blue butterfly is blue, so it blends into its environment and keeps it hidden from the organism that it's about to attack. The giant blue butterfly keeps the population numbers of the giant butterfly under control so it does not take over its natural ecosystem. Coloration is just one adaptation that an organism can have that can be beneficial in their environment. Other adaptations include speed.
It allows organisms to either escape their predators or catch their prey.
Sight.
It allows organisms to better see their predators or prey and either avoid them or catch them.
Hearing.
It allows organisms to hear their predator or prey and also avoid or catch them.
Size.
If prey is small, it has a better chance to avoid being seen or caught by a predator, or if it's larger, it has a better chance of withstanding the predator's attacks. Now, if a predator is small, it will probably be easier for it to sneak up and attack its prey. However, if the predator is large, it will probably have more force and fighting ability as compared to its prey.
Silent movements.
If a predator or prey have silent movements, then it will be more difficult for the organism that they are either avoiding or searching for to detect them.
And defense mechanisms.
Defense mechanisms, such as sharp claws or teeth, allow organisms to fight off others.
Homeostasis can be interrupted by invasive species, which take over the environment and disturb the natural balance. These organisms typically tend to spiral out of control in their growth and population due to the fact that they have unlimited access to resources with no limiting factors such as predators.
Here, we're gonna
We should rehearse something.
To wrap things up, there are many symbiotic relationships. One symbiotic relationship, the predator-prey relationship, allows energy to be transferred through an ecosystem. The ecosystem is one level of ecology, which you can remember using the word APBio. Biosphere, bio. Ecosystem, community, population, and organism.
An invasive species can disrupt homeostasis in an environment due to the fact that it has no natural predators in its new environment, and it typically has an unlimited amount of resources. There are many types of adaptations that organisms can have that are beneficial in their environment, such as colorations. Many species have warning colorations, which are typically very bright, shiny, vibrant colors that warn other organisms to stay away from them because they are poisonous. Others use camouflage, which is basically having the same coloration as many other things, abiotic or biotic, in the environment, which allows typically predators to sneak up on their prey.
This is Carson, and I hope this was helpful. I am a biotic factor.
This is stop it. Ecology is a huge branch of biology that deals with relationships of organisms, whether between. Start over.
It's okay.
No, oh, no, it's recording. Now, the relationships between organisms. Okay, wait, stop. Biosphere, bio, ecosystem, population, Biosphere, bio, ecosystem, community, population, organism. I didn't do that right. I was like, what did I do?
Another type of symbiotic relationship is called mutualism. Don't do that!
Don't do what? I don't understand what you're saying. Mooch, you got to do today to your project, you got to do it well.
What if I do it that way? And I can't even do it.
Try it.
It's water. Going back to our previous diagram, an example of the power. Going back to our previous diagram, an example of commensalism would be between the rhinoceros and the snake. Would that be neutralism? And wait, let me start. I'm losing it.
You got to do to your project, you got to do it well. What's wrong with you?
I'm failing.
Really?
That's explain what it is.
I'm trying.
Just go right now, explain it.
Oh, you could edit it out?
Yeah.
Okay. Retake. Parasitism is when one animal. Okay, I can't.
This is our beautiful diagram of a food web in an ecosystem. So, just to wrap things up, the energy source provides energy to the producers, which provide energy to the consumers, the primary consumers, and then provide more energy to the secondary consumers. There's no R. To wrap things up, the energy source provides energy to the producers, which provide energy to the primary, which provide,
An invasive species is basically a species that has been brought to a new environment.
I'm gonna do that again. This is an example of extreme coloration. So, a giant blue butterfly keeps the numbers of the giant butterfly in. To wrap things up, there are many different levels of What am I saying?
Symbiotic.
There are many levels of symbiotic relationships. That makes perfect sense.
No, wait.
I'm an APBio.
In
No,
our play.
you don't. Just do it.
We need to. I even play what I eat.
This is Carson, and I hope this was helpful.